freedom,
family,
world unity.
All these things and more will be discussed on this podcast.
Real stories, real people, real debates. On this podcast, we like to express our freedoms and talk about anything and everything goes.
Like freedom, family is important to us, and anybody that is listening, watching, or coming on the show as a guest star are all considered part of the greatest family to ever bless the solar system, the human race. No matter who you are, where you come from, you will always have a voice here on this podcast.
We like to flex our First Amendment, where all speeches and opinions are accepted for the right of freedom of speech. We have a saying we like to live by. Live life with eyes wide open. Being open-minded leads to true understanding of the world as it really is. Please, come, join us, and enjoy this experience as we embark on this journey of truth as we dismantle the subjective truth. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And you're experiencing high consciousness.
Disclaimer. Any and all information on topics presented are to the best of all who is present in each episode's knowledge. The goal of this podcast is to bring people together and set the example we all wish to see in our everyday lives. Whether it's home life, education, politics, history, business, etc. Any and all subjects can and will be talked and peacefully debated about on this podcast. On debate episodes, there will be a set rules of debate that hosts and guests alike must follow. We ask that you, the audience, like we ask of our guests, in the comments to please try to keep the language as clean as possible. We are a podcast for entertainment as well as educational purposes. Here we are all equal no matter what race, age, or gender. Thank you and enjoy.
Hi everyone. So as you can see, we're in a different environment. This is High Consciousness. I'm your host, Nicholas.
And I'm your host, Victoria, and we are
High
Consciousness. Welcome, everybody.
So as you can see, I know I saw at the beginning, I had a little bit ahead of myself, but we are currently in Florida, St. Petersburg to be precise, to celebrate Victoria's great-granddad's birthday. He's turning 90 on Sunday.
Yep.
So we went ahead and just grabbed all the gear and...
90 years old, big deal.
Yeah, right? So we just went ahead and grabbed all our gear and was going to spend the weekend here in Florida. So now y'all joined us here to have another sitting down of our reading with The Secret Destiny of America.
And today's chapter is Chapter 3.
Westward to a new...
Westward ocean travel to the earthly paradise.
So we're going to do a recap of...
A little recap of Chapter 1. Or Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. So Chapter 2 was about Akhenaten, which was actually King Tut's father.
Which in the book, it doesn't mention that King Tut was, one of Akhenaten's children. If anything, it said that he had, 7 daughters, but it doesn't mention that he had a son. And turns out that, even though this book was written in 1944, they discovered King Tut's tomb in 1922. So, we're kind of, wondering almost the same thing that you probably are right now. Okay, so if they found King Tut's tomb in 1922, and this book was written in 1944, and they probably knew that, King Tut's dad was Akhenaten by then why not mention it? That's something that we're going to actually, look into and try to discover for you guys. Not just for you guys, but us too, but mainly for you guys.
But so anyway, we're going to go ahead and start reading today. Last episode I read, now this time it's going to be Victoria's turn to read.
We're going to take turns every chapter, so every even chapter, Nick is going to be reading it, and every odd chapter, I will be reading it, which is kind of backwards because I absolutely hate odd numbers. Ironically, yeah. So, let's get into it. Westward ocean travel to the earthly paradise. From Plutarch's description of voyages, it can be calculated that our great continent in the Western Hemisphere was visited by the ancient Greeks. They not only reached our shores, but explored part of the Great Lakes area. Under a thin veil of symbolism, they perpetrated in mythology their knowledge of our land, which they called blessed. The area was anciently set apart for coming generations in the great human experiment of the democratic commonwealth. So, did that mean that... Okay, so my little question is, before we get into it right there, is just did they know that we were going to be like
Going back there?
an experiment like that, you know, that they're going to bring like all these different cultures to this land to live together in harmony and try to form like some kind of philosophic
who's to say that
empire republic.
Well, who's to say that the cultures weren't already there? They just didn't really colonize there because it was more of a greeting place and a blessed area than an actual war place. Because there's not really a lot of history of ancient America. Like, we know that the Vikings came with Leif Erikson.
And Christopher Columbus, or as I like to call him, Christopher Columbum.
So there's just a lot of things that America is connected to, but we don't understand how we're connected.
Yeah. And even like when we went to DC a couple of years back, when we were walking around and stuff, we noticed that a lot of the buildings there in the heart of our capital of our country, it's all like Greek-like buildings. Like, they're legit built like as if they built them in Greece and then just dropped them in the middle of, you know, our capital.
Well,
and then like there's like descriptions on these buildings with the columns that look like Greek temples and stuff. Like, there's depictions of like the legends of like wars, or like I think one of them was like the legend of Aphrodite up there with like all the men surrounding her and stuff and all the animals and whatnot. Like, it was very cool, very interesting, but also like now that we're starting to discover the things that we are, it's very strange.
Well, it's not strange. You got to realize America is a hybrid of democracy and republic combined together. And Greece was known to be democratic, and Rome was known to be republic. And they both had 12 gods. You got to also know that the Romans really just took the Greece culture, like
Greek culture,
and the worship, and just changed their names from Zeus to Jupiter. And from Ares to Mars, from
and Kronos, who was Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades' dad. He's known as Saturn in the Roman mythologies.
So it's not strange. It's more as if the founding fathers realized, like, okay, if we're going to make this a real place of real freedom, we got to use what worked back in the ancient times, which was Greek and Roman civilization systems, and they combined the two together.
Their philosophy and the way that their civilization was.
They just literally combined the two together.
Yeah. And that's, you know, American democracy today.
But anyways.
Anyway, let's get back into it. So, the ancient Greeks had a far better knowledge of geography than popular opinion today indicates. This is 1944, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, and they're still saying, like, we're still figuring out just how good the Greeks knew our geography, or the geography of the world in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. We have been deceived as to the full measure of classical learning because Greeks did not commit the larger part of their knowledge to writing, and they bound scholarship with the vow of secrecy. In ancient days, all learning was regarded as sacred. Wisdom was entrusted to the keeping of the priest philosophers. They were permitted to communicate the choicest branches of the sciences only to duly initiated pupils, to bestow knowledge upon those who had not prepared their minds by years of discipline and self-purification, profaned the mysteries, desecrated the sacred sciences.
So basically, this is where the whole occult knowledge and hidden knowledge came from, because the Greeks will usually will make tests and trials to see if there will be a star pupil to be certified to learn all the hidden knowledges.
Or like just in general, not necessarily like a single star pupil. That's not what I'm picking up. What I'm picking up is that, like, within their community, they had
a very safeguard of their knowledge.
A safeguard of their knowledge, and it was meant for people that like could actually handle it and were actually like good people, which I think is what the self-purification thing is there. Because when you self-purify, you don't feel greed, you don't feel lust, you don't feel any of those like 7 deadly sins as we know from the Bible or whatever. But like, you know, even though we know like greed is a sin among pretty much a lot of different mythologies, not just biblical. We're having to refer to Islam or Judaism, even among like, you know, the Buddhists and stuff, like greed and stealing and all that other stuff. Like, it's no bueno, no good. So like, that's what I think they mean by self-purification. People that like were pure and stayed pure and don't have the need to feel greedy. They don't have the need to feel like they want to have everything in the world or lust after certain things.
I understand that, baby, but what I'm saying is that they just didn't give to free look to just anybody.
No.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why it says secretly. Vow of secrecy.
And it seems, you know, that there may have been a few bad eggs that, you know, started a lot of our secret societies.
No, that started maybe not bad egg, maybe it just has how it's been. You gotta realize everything's all in secrets. And I'm pretty sure that's what this chapter is gonna go into more detail about.
Probably. So let's go into it.
Go right here.
Some years ago, in discussing this fine point in ethics with the late Professor James Breasted. Oh, he was mentioned in the last chapter when he was when Mr. Manly P. Hall referred to when he found the foil under Akhenaten's feet.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Breasted said da 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 da. So anyway, Professor James Breasted, the most distinguished of American Egyptologists, he confirmed my own findings and further stated it to be his personal conviction that the classical civilizations concealed most of their learning under myths, legends, myths, and allegories, and these have long been mistakenly accepted as the literal beliefs of these peoples. So that right there probably tells us, like,
there's more truth meaning behind their mythology than what we're getting at.
You remember, like, it's been so many like TVs and movies like lately that I've been seeing, and I don't know if it's just a thing that they're putting out there in the movies or whatever, but like they say that the problem with myths, legends, folklore, and fairy tales is that there's always some truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
Always some kind of ounce of truth to it. So this right here is telling us, like, yeah, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
See, that's what I say. They telling us stuff, the truth in our entertainment. Little crookie crumbs every now and then, but what is there? You just gotta listen and be aware. There can be no doubt that the existence of the Greek continent in the Western Hemisphere was known to the ancient Greeks, and also to the Egyptians and the Chinese. It is nothing short of foolish to assume that the ancients lacked ships sufficiently seaworthy to navigate the larger oceans. Long before the Christian era, the older civilization had constructed boats far larger and more seaworthy than any vessels used by Columbus, or as I like to say, Columbum. One of the Ptolemies of Egypt built a ship large enough to have an orchard of fruit trees on the deck, together with swimming pools and fountains stocked with live fish. Yo! That mofo built an entire ark, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, no, that's what they do. You gotta realize, like,
So,
Egypt was really sophisticated in their building, in their shipwrecking. Like, that's one thing you also gotta recognize, and how
they were very good for shipwrecks.
In today's ancient world that still stands today, it's still pretty elegantly made. So this kind of is no surprise, honestly.
No.
If anything, it kind of points
But it
out
does surprise me that, you know, they had an entire orchard of fruit trees and then, like, a swimming pool and fountains with fish.
Yeah.
Like, that's... Like, I knew they were good at shipbuilding, but I didn't think...
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, like, you know, all the ships on One Piece. Like, in the One Piece show, how, like, you know, our main character crew, they have, like, the orchard on the back of the ship.
Uh-huh.
And then, like, other ships, has, like, entire swimming pools and roller coasters and stuff on it. Like, it's kind of nuts.
Okay, well, that's what today's reference is. Today, too, with the caravels, with the cruises. So we have that today.
Yeah, but
this is just Julie was talking about like royalty and people making long words sea bounds.
Well, we see where the modern people got their ideas.
Bless you, bless you.
Ooh, thank you.
But we have seen it in the past. It's in the paintings, and it's real. It shouldn't be a surprise to nobody, and you shouldn't be surprised by that.
Well, okay. Me being, me, and not so, like, knowledgeable on these things, I would think, whenever you see, like, paintings of this stuff, probably, like, everybody else,
Would assume it came from the mind? No.
Yeah, it just came from, like, their head and what they imagined, things would be, or the royals, like, had them painted that way to make it, like as if they're living extra lavishly, or
no,
to kind of like, have that look at how much I got.
No, but they weren't doing that. That's just how they lived.
That's really crazy. That's nuts.
This is how they lived. You gotta realize back then there was more enlightened people. Yes, there was conquering, hunter, and gathering status, but at this point in human evolution, I would say, is that we were more enlightened and primal at the same time, to where everyone could live together, but everyone has certain standards.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Anyway, moving along. Calculations based upon Plutarch's description of ancient voyages seem to indicate that the Greeks not only reached the coast of America, but explored the St. Lawrence River and part of the Great Lakes area. Plato, in his treatise of the destruction of Atlantis, wrote that due to the commotions in the ocean caused by the submergence of a vast continent, all navigation to the west ceased for a long period of time. This statement can only imply that such navigation had taken place in remote times. So right there, that tells us, like, the reason why the Atlantic Ocean is called the Atlantic Ocean is because Atlantis was sitting right there. Duh.
Well, that's because more likely Atlantis was the borderland where
it was literally the midway point.
Where all the cultures go together, and that was like a big trading area.
Yeah. I mean, when we look into Plato's not Plutarch, Plato. I was getting the two put together, but it said Plato. Anyway, Plato, his journals, they described that Atlantis was like kind of right in the center between like the African European continent and our entire North American continent.
Mm.
It was like right there in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, the midway point.
Yeah. Which is why all the, stuff to the west ceased for a while.
No, you just the Julie. There's our spot right there. I'm about to
say. All right. Greek mythology perpetuates the knowledge of a blessed land beyond the western borders, the western boundaries of ocean. In this blessed land dwelt the Hesperides, the beautiful daughters of night, and also at the end of each day the sun came to a rest. In popular mythology, the Hesperic Isles were kind of a terrestrial paradise. Thus, under a thin veil of mystic symbolism was concealed the account of a western continent of great size, fertile and rich, and abounding in all good things. So right in Greek lore, they talk about us, the daughters of the night? Like, what? And also, here's the map, y'all. Here's the map. Like, this is really cool. Pause it when you need to. But as you can see, our entire North American continent, as well as the European continent and stuff, is all there. But you realize... Oops, my bad. But you realize... Sorry. I can't... It's so hard to do
you're
this.
like trying to be like right here? Hercules?
Yep, the colonies of Hercules. That's what we were known as.
But that's up there in Canada.
Long time ago. Like, dude, that's awesome! Like, that's so freaking cool. Oh, yeah, it says right there. Plutarch's ancient account of aerial the voyages and stuff. Like, that is so cool. Oh, there's a little description underneath. The existence of a great continent in the Western Hemisphere was known to the ancient Greeks. This map presents in visual form Plutarch's description of ancient voyages for the guidance of navigators 13 centuries before Columbus. 13 centuries before Columbus. That seems to be my lucky freaking number, which 13 is my lucky number. The number rules my life, for real. Distances by the sea and times and rates of travel are consistent. The narrative of Plutarch is substantiated by the Atlantic currents from which the cautious ancient sailor followed as the natural route of travel, and he says that the latitude of the Gulf, which was the location of the Greek colony, it lies in a direct line over that of the Caspian Sea. Wow. That is awesome. That's freaking awesome. It's got Norway on there. Greenland. That's really cool. Moving along. The ancients believed the Earth was to be surrounded by a sphere the ancients believed the Earth to be surrounded by the sphere of the constellations, and they assigned to each country the star groups which were above the country's particular area of land. In the arrangement preserved by the writings of Aratus of Soli, S-O-L-I, and Aratus, A-R-A-T-U-S, of Soli, the constellation of the eagle spreads its wings across the North American continent.
That's the bald eagle.
Wait, huh?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Just
I didn't know there was a freaking bird constellation that was right over North America. That explains with the Native Americans and how they say the Thunderbird is like, you know, the main thing. Like it's the big bad, you know, not big bad, but
the main bird of America.
It's like the main god of the stars or something like that.
Like
and they're
like the bald eagle.
Like the bald eagle, yeah. Like whoa.
The serpent.
The serpent winds its coil over Mexico and Central America. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god.
But meaning this, with lining of the star constellation.
Okay, the dragon floats in the sky above Japan and China. So Draco is right above Japan and China, which is why dragons is like their whole thing. Okay. Perhaps Sir Edward Landseer was not far wrong when he declared that the symbols of nations and the emblems particular to their heraldry originated in their ruling constellations. Just about everyone knows that the constellation of the Great Bear in the sky is over Russia. Mm-hmm. Wait. So...
And the Russian bear is the Russian state symbol. Because of the Great
And
Bear.
once upon a time, California used to belong to Russia, right?
No. Alaska.
No, I thought California did too.
I believe that was California.
Here, let me look it up real quick. Alright?
Just give us 1 second, boo.
Ooh, yeah, owned by Russia. Oops.
First one it was Alaska, but not California.
I thought it was both.
No.
Okay, we'll see. More answers here. Forgotten history of Russia's California colony. There you go. In the 18th century, Tsarist Russia carved out her own slice of what would become the state of California. So yeah, that's why California has the bear on their flag. It's because they used to be owned once upon a time by Russia.
Huh.
Once upon a time ago.
Ironic, huh?
Isn't that ironic, y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Okay.
Get us out of the,
Oh, out of desk view.
Yeah, sorry, y'all.
My bad.
I want to hurt your eyes for a second. See if you could see you're in the Matrix.
Yeah, we're all in the Matrix, bro. we like Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah.
What was the girl's name?
Trinity.
Trinity. Yeah, we're like Neo Trinity, yo.
Oh shoot. Sorry,
Anyway.
we're a little tired.
We're a little tired. It was a really long drive down here. It took us 2 days to get here. Anyway.
The Great Bear of the Russian state symbol right here, because you want to stop in the middle of the.
Yeah, everyone knows the constellation of the Great Bear in the sky is in the sky over Russia. Since time immemorial, the bear that walks like a man has been the accepted symbol of the Russian state. Thus, in many ways, we discover indications that the old races were wiser than we thought, and that what we have called discoveries are only rediscoveries. See, that's why it's called research. Yeah, just like I said in the last episode, that's why it's called research. Beyond the western bounds of the ocean, they located the fair land set aside by the gods to be an earthly paradise. Here, in the fullness of time, all men would come in search of the golden fleece, which hung upon the tree, sacred to the apples of the sun, and the early explorers did travel to the west in search of a golden fleece, the gold of the Incas, the treasures of the Aztecs, and the jeweled temples of the 7 cities of Cibola. I think that's what it's called. Cibola. I think that's Cibola. Or Cibola. It might be Cibola. I don't know. If y'all are from there, like,
Cibola?
let me know. Is it Cibola or is it Cibola? It
Or
was
it's
an
just
old
dialect.
book. Or maybe it's just dialect. I don't know.
That's probably dialect.
I'm trying my best here, y'all. Sorry. It was in an old book, which is in the British Museum, that I found another and even more important key to the meaning of the Golden Fleece. It is known to the Greeks that the Golden Fleece was in reality a parchment on which was written the secret of human immortality. It was this parchment that Jason sought, for whoever discovered it would gain the secret of enduring empire and power over the whole world. We have now in America, enshrined in the Congressional Library, a Golden Fleece. The American Declaration of Independence, written on the skin of an animal and preserved as the magic formula of human hope. Those who understand it can use wisely the import of its writings are possessed on the secret of immortality of human society. No effing way. Well, what? Okay, so hold the book again. What kind of pig skin, or what kind of, animal skin? It doesn't say pig skin, otherwise it would say
goat,
it, right?
It's goat skin. Lamb.
What? It would be parchment paper, wouldn't it? Not.
What is the concept?
I thought the Declaration of Independence was written on parchment paper.
No, it was written on pig skin. What is the Declaration of Independence written on?
Of Independence written on
Parchment paper.
was engrossed on parchment, which is made from an animal skin.
Which part?
Okay, so
Which part? What part?
what is parchment paper made from then? Oops.
Sorry, y'all. Stipend, what is the Declaration of Independence parchment paper made out of?
Declaration of Independence. Oops. I can't type today.
Animal skin.
Okay, but what kind of animal skin? Does it say?
It's probably a lamb.
if it's a fleece, then it'd have to be... Okay, it's animal skin, but what kind of fucking animal skin?
Why don't you look up?
Why doesn't it tell us?
Why don't you... What kind of animal skin?
What kind of...
Calm down, baby. You're typing too fast.
Sheepskin!
So a lamb.
Legit golden fleece.
A lamb skin. Congrats.
That's awesome! That's freaking awesome. Oh, I never went to desktop view.
No, you didn't. So everybody just saw that and
Oops.
it's not all confused. So this is what we're talking about, y'all. This right here.
This right here. The Declaration of Independence parchment was made out of sheepskin, which is legit a golden fleece. Because you gotta think, fleece is made from animal, or sheep's wool,
Alright, Miss Tech Hostess girl.
I'm sorry. One of us has gotta be semi-tech savvy. One of us. May as well be the one that's got tech skills like a boomer, right? Me.
Right here.
So that is so freaking awesome. The curious fortunes of war brought another golden fleece from across the sea, and it is now preserved together with our own. This second parchment is the Magna Carta, the English Bill of Rights, which was the inspiration behind our American Declaration of Independence. These two immortal documents together from the Declaration of the Rights of Man, what are the basic texts of modern democracy. By the wisdom then of those gods who are eternally vigilant over the needs of man, the blessed lands of the West were set apart. For none of the great civilizations of the past rose in North America to overshadow the continent with the ruins of old tradition, or to set up the corruptions of old administrative policy. Foreign nations came to this continent in times long ago, but they formed no permanent settlements, nor attempted any program of colonization. So the soil was not impoverished by thousands of years of intensive cultivation, nor were the natural resources ravished to supply the substance to maintain endless wars and ageless feuds. It was the rise of the democratic dream in Europe that supplied the beginning of Western civilization. Those in search of a promised land returned to the West. Here was a virgin continent populated by only nomadic Indian tribes, a vast territory suitable in every way for the great human experiment of the democratic commonwealth. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, they
were here.
But they purposely never colonized. They came, they saw, and they legit went. They said, this place looks great. Let's come back to it in 2,000 years.
And keep it as it is, too, so the next guy can be living well.
That's kind of awesome. Our lands were purposely left alone for us to come here. And for America to become the philosophical
leaders that we need
leadership
to be.
that we are, because think about it, we're at the center of the world stage everywhere.
Still to this day. Even with our stupidity.
Oh, another thing that we did, that we recently discovered about, apparently the world did not have a GPA, a world GDP. Yeah, not GPA. I'm sorry.
GDP.
They did not have a world GDP until America was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Until America had its own economy, the world economy did not exist. That's crazy. By the 19th century, the American Hesperides was definitely the land of golden opportunity, and it came to streams of immigration from nearly every country on earth. The better way of life drew them here, for it had been established that here men could build a future free of tyranny, intolerance, and enforced poverty. Here all were given opportunity for education, for free enterprise and living a life according to the dictates of hope and conscience. If in a comparatively short time, many
racial streams.
Okay. In a comparatively short time, many racial streams have met and mingled, and a new race has been born. The American race is not one to be determined by an analysis of blood or the proportions of the cranium, which, ironically enough, like, what that means is, like, you know, if your head was like a certain shape, it meant like this is how smart or how dumb you are.
From Neanderthal to Homo sapien.
Yeah, like,
pretty much, like from a dummy.
It was a very old, like,
way of thinking and way of discovery.
Yeah, it was a way that, like, psychologists used to, like, back in the day when, like, psychology was starting to become a thing.
To examine one's skull, like, ancient.
And that would, like, determine how smart you are. And that just ended up not being true, you know, years later down the road. Those are one of those things where, you know, back in the 40s, 50s, you know, that was something that was, like, not very humane to do. Not very ethical to do either. And now, as we are, you know, more advanced, we're wiser, we're better about it.
No, technology just got better.
Well, before technology came in, psychology started getting better, and they did away with the whole measuring of the cranium thing by the 60s or 70s, I think. So that was well before technology.
Crack open your skull because see how big your brain is.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they did.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Then you got like, CT scans, and then it's like, okay, you don't need to do all that now. Put this on your head.
Just put this on your head, and we'll measure it.
The one of cranium, Americans are a race determined by the measure.
Americans, yeah. Americans are a race determined by the measure of a conviction set apart by that conviction. It is the conviction that human beings are created free and are entitled to equal opportunity to perfect themselves in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, Americans, we're not a race. We are, but we're not.
We're not a race defined by color or by how we look. We're defined by our conviction for one's equal opportunity, life, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yep.
That's what sets the American race from
everybody else. Because
that's
the American race is black, white, Chinese, Japanese, American, or Asian. It's, you know,
and
Mexican.
that is why everybody wants to kill us. That is on the Eastern Front.
There are some Eastern countries that really don't like us because we are different in the way that we are.
Have that conviction. We have that
conviction
of human race and that no one should be superior over anybody else.
Which we don't think that we are, not at all.
No, but
I mean, everybody else seems, and the way that our news makes it look, honestly, it makes it look like America is like the world's watchdog, which we kind of have been historically tracking, but we don't like,
that's because
look down our nose at the rest of the world.
Well, that's because of NATO and because of World War II. That's because of World War II and NATO. Yeah. You can blame that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, everybody promised when NATO was formed that nothing of World War II was never supposed to happen again. Yeah.
Yep, and we made NATO. That was us.
Yeah,
the United States.
Yeah, that's another reason why was the reason why we made NATO. So we wouldn't get dragged into shit, that we knew exactly what the fuck was going on. Because every single time when the United States joined the war, it was always at the butt end of the war, and we always got fucked into basically said like, alright, y'all draw the hand.
Language.
Oh, great. Now y'all draw the hand.
Yeah, pretty much. In recent years, we have made another discovery. It is that the race of democracy is one distributed throughout the whole world. Among men and women of all races and all nations are those who share our conviction, and because they share it, they are of our kind and belong to our race. In this realization, we mark the beginning of world democracy. Wise men, the ancients believed, were a separate race, and to be born into this race, it was necessary to develop the state of mind of enlightened intelligence. The old philosophers thought that physical birth is an accident, for men are born into various races and nationalities according to the laws of generation. But there is a second birth, which is not an accident. It is the consequence of a proper intent. By this second birth, man is born by enlightened intelligence out of a nation and out of a race into the international nation and an international race. It is this larger and coming race that will someday inherit the earth. But unless a man be born again by enlightenment, he shall not be part of the philosophical empire.
Basically saying is that if you do not open up your eyes and actually like pay attention to what's going on and not batting an eye to it or just trying to come up with every single excuse as to why it does not affect to you, then if that's the case, it doesn't affect you, okay, then everybody else is going to move forward while you're being left behind because you want to be ignorant and not see what's going on around you and want to be blind and ignorant to it, coming up with all the other excuses or like, any other kind of thing that you purposely throw out so you don't see the truth. And that's what's been a lot of issues lately. Like a lot of people don't want to see the truth or nor accept the truth and want to be in denial. And
well, they don't want their truth and their reality
shattered,
dismantled, because this is what they know, so what they know is the truth. But like us, we had to deprogram ourselves because we learned like what we know and what we have known. It's not all true, honestly. And we've had to deprogram ourselves and even shatter our own truths just to relearn what the truth is.
But like I said, in order for you to move with this enlightened and philosophical group, you have to pay attention all around you and call out everybody's bullshit and not...
Or at least call out the falsehoods when they're there.
Yes.
Call out the falsehoods. That's really what we mean. Not the BS. I mean, yes, call out the BS. Absolutely. But call out the falsehoods for sure. And just my own little take on what he means there, you can be born in any other part of the world. You could be born in India. You could be born in Africa. You could be born in Sudan. You could be born in Europe. You could be born in France. You could be born in Russia. But it doesn't matter. So long as you have that second birth that he's talking about, that enlightenment birth, then you too are now part of something bigger than what you initially were in the first place. You were part of a bigger race, a bigger philosophical empire that will one day be the inheritor of this entire earth, and everyone that decided to have that second birth or embraced that second birth will be able to inherit as well. So you can be born the first time somewhere else and in a specific race, and it doesn't erase, who you are or the race that you were born as. But if you want to become of something greater than yourself,
you gotta put everything.
You gotta have that second birth of enlightenment
and put aside all the differences and see what makes us all the same. Is what it comes down to.
We are taught to know and see the difference. Now it is time for all of us to start seeing and knowing the similarities rather than the difference, because it's the differences that have kept us at this
apart.
Yeah, that kept us apart, separated and divide us all.
It has now the time to be united and be unified.
And we're all capable of doing that. We're all evolved to a point, mentally, physically, and emotionally, to be there at that point. But anyway, finishing up our chapter here.
Yep.
Our age of gold will pass, and someday the golden age will come again. A future greatness is right now casting its long shadow across the face of nature. With each passing generation, the possibilities of the American people will increase.
Responsibilities.
Oh, sorry. Let me reread that. With each passing generation, the responsibilities of the American people will increase. More and more, we shall be looked to as a source of courage, strength, and hope. And it will be in this way that we shall fulfill the destiny for which our nation was created by dreamers of long ago. From the blessed isles of the West must come the fulfillment of the promise of the ages. And that's it for chapter 3.
And so our next chapter will be
the first election of lawmakers.
Ooh.
Where's my little bookie mark?
I don't know where you put your bookmark.
I don't know. But anyway,
Well, that's it for this episode, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope this was a good eye opener and a good way of
learning experience.
And a good way to make that consciousness high.
Yep, we're always here to help boost your consciousness, and we're all trying to get on that same level. So keep coming back, and remember to live life with eyes wide open.
And to like and subscribe to this video too.
Yep, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Plus comment.
And comment down below, because we would love to see what you guys think.
Any kind of feedback y'all have for us.
Yeah, any kind of feedback. If there's something that you would like for us to go into detail of more, please leave that comment in the comment section below. And on our Rumble channel, if you're watching us on Rumble, please like our videos and follow our channel. We also now have our Facebook page up. I am working on Instagram. We are going to be expanding even more into Twitch and X, former Twitter. And when we have all that figured out, we'll let you guys know.
All right, y'all.
Thanks, and stay tuned.